So many of us feel like success is this incredibly hard thing to achieve. We think maybe we're not talented enough or we just don't have the right luck. But what if that's not it at all? What if the real reason is that you've been relying on motivation, which comes and goes, when you should have been building systems? We're going to break down exactly why making that one shift changes absolutely everything.
So, does this sound familiar? You set these huge, inspiring goals. You start off super strong. You tell yourself, okay, this time is going to be different. And then, well, life happens. You get tired, you get distracted, you get overwhelmed, and before you know it, you are right back where you started. It is so frustrating, right? It feels like failure, but it's not. That's just what happens when you're trying to build something amazing without a solid foundation.
All right, here's a big idea that might just flip everything you've been taught about achievement on its head. We all love setting big, ambitious goals, but here's the thing. They aren't actually what determine our outcomes. The goal itself, it has no real power. The thing that actually determines where you end up is something much closer to your day-to-day life.
And here it is. This is the punchline. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Think about it. Your results, whether they're good or bad, are just a direct reflection of the structures you have in place every single day. If your daily life is chaotic and reactive, your results are going to be chaotic and reactive no matter how badly you want to win. So the real key here is to stop wishing and start building. Okay, so let's really get into the nitty-gritty of why this happens. The problem is almost never a lack of ambition or desire. I mean, you want it, right? The problem is that we're trying to win a marathon by only thinking about the finish line, without ever actually planning the run itself. We're chasing an outcome without a real process to get us there. Let's break this down a bit more. A goal, that's the finish line. It's awesome, it gives you direction, but a system, that's the road that actually gets you there. A goal can feel like a wish, I want to be fit. But a system is a way of living that creates unstoppable momentum, like moving your body every single morning or eating food that actually fuels you. And this, right here, illustrates the true magic of a system. It's not about trying to force yourself with discipline and willpower every single day. That's exhausting. It's about structuring your life so that progress becomes the natural, almost automatic outcome. It becomes, well, unavoidable. So where in the world do we start? Well, our very first system is the one that everything else is built on: energy. We've got to manage our fuel. Before we can even begin to think about productivity or success, we have to talk about what's actually in the tank. This is a hard truth that most people learn way too late. We obsess over time management, right? Calendars, to-do lists. But what good is an extra hour in your day if you're too exhausted to even think straight? Most people don't fail because they're not disciplined. They fail because they're trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of pure exhaustion. So how do you build this energy system? It's actually way simpler than you might think. It really just starts with these 3 non-negotiables. First, get your sleep consistent. Second, move your body, even just for a little bit every single day. And third, eat in a way that fuels your brain instead of making you crash at 2 p.m. When your body is stable, your mind has a chance to be too. All right, once your energy is stable, we can move on to the next critical layer: what you actually do with that energy. And that brings us to our next 2 systems, which are totally connected: the focus system and the identity system. It all kicks off with where you choose to put your attention. I mean, just think about that for a second. If your attention is constantly being yanked in 100 different directions by notifications, social media, and just endless noise, then your results are going to be just as scattered. Success isn't about working longer. It's about working in a protected, focused way. You see, a focus system isn't about gritting your teeth and trying harder. It's about removing the stuff that doesn't matter. This means choosing just 1 or 2 things that are actually important for the day. It means putting your phone in another room before you even start working. It means deciding when your day starts and, just as importantly, when it ends. You stop reacting to your day and you start creating it. Now this might be the most powerful system of them all. We so often try to change our behaviors, right? Like trying to be more disciplined, but deep down, we still see ourselves as someone who procrastinates. That inner conflict will always pull you back. The real lasting shift happens when you change your identity first. And the process for this is so simple, but it is profound. First, you define with total clarity the person you want to become. Something like, I am someone who shows up every day.
Then, the fun part, you start proving it to yourself with these tiny, undeniable actions. You start casting votes for that new identity. And this is exactly why it works so well. Each one of those small actions, writing one single paragraph, doing one push-up, making one healthy meal, it's like a little piece of evidence. And over time, those votes pile up and they literally rewrite your self-image. All of a sudden, consistency doesn't feel forced anymore because it's just who you are. Okay, so you've got your energy dialed in, you have your focus, and you're building a new identity. So how do we translate all of that good stuff into actual real-world results? That brings us to our final two systems: the execution system for turning ideas into action, and the environment system for making it all feel effortless. This is the hard truth, isn't it? Most people do not fail because they lack good ideas. We all have good ideas. They fail because they get stuck in that huge, scary gap between having the idea and taking the very first step. They overthink, they wait for the perfect moment, and all that precious momentum just dies before it ever had a chance to start. So let's just look at this contrast here. The overthinker is completely paralyzed by the size of the goal. They're asking, can I even do this? The executor, on the other hand, asks a much simpler question. What's the very next, tiny, manageable step I can take right now? They take messy, imperfect action, which creates clarity and builds momentum. And it's that momentum that carries you forward. And finally, we have the system that we almost always ignore, our environment. We think we can just overcome a bad environment with sheer willpower, but honestly, that is a losing battle. Your physical and digital spaces are constantly whispering instructions to you, shaping your habits whether you realize it or not. So instead of fighting your environment, design it. Make the good habits easy and the bad habits hard. Put your workout clothes out the night before. Delete the distracting apps from your phone's home screen. Be intentional with your inputs. When your environment is actually supporting your goals, discipline becomes almost automatic. So, wow, we have covered 5 really powerful systems. And I know it might feel like a lot. The natural tendency is to get excited and try to do all of them at once. But let me tell you, that is the fastest way to burn out. The real key here is to start small. This is probably the most important takeaway of all. Pick just one. Seriously. Maybe it's just fixing your sleep schedule to build up your energy system. Or maybe it's just choosing one single priority a day for your focus system. Build that one thing slowly, let it become a natural part of your life, and only then should you even think about adding another one. And let's just end on this really powerful idea. That struggle you're feeling right now, it's not permanent. It's just the friction of fighting against your own lack of structure. Once your systems are in place, they start to do the heavy lifting for you. And that's when success stops feeling like a constant fight and starts feeling like a predictable process. So just take a second to think about it. Which one is it for you? Is it energy, focus, your identity, execution, or your environment? Which one of these systems, if you started building it today, would make the absolute biggest